Good morning, boys and girls in YouTube land. This morning I'm going to mention the Socialism of H.G. Wells. And as it was revealed in his most popular works, Wells, as you know, was the grandfather of science fiction as a genre and established its use as a platform of social criticism. What you likely don't know was that Herbert George Wells was a socialist who used his popular romances, as he called them, to forewarn his readers of the possible trajectory of modern society if left on its current track. Okay? Wells was a Fabian socialist, not a Marxist. That is, he believed in socialism as a system of ethics and in the transforming power of modern science and technology. His works were a critique of the dominant social, economic, and political trends of his time: imperialism and colonialism, class society, and racism. This aspect was quietly allowed to fade as his late 19th, early 20th century novellas became literary classics, especially in the United States. But reading them in the light of Wells' own beliefs reveals their strong social criticisms told in allegorical fashion, criticisms still valid today. In The First Men in the Moon, for instance, we see classic Western imperialism at work as an entrepreneurial inventor fires a rocket to set a satellite and tries to establish contact with the natives, the Selenites, who decide to keep him prisoner so that no more Earthlings could follow. What seemed to be a wise move on their part backfired as the inventor's cold turned into a raging plague that wiped them out. In The War of the Worlds, however, we see this process reversed, where Earth, particularly Britain, is itself a victim of an interplanetary imperialism, tromped upon and conquered like so many ants by Mars' superior technology, an exact parallel to the then current decimation of Africa by European machine guns. Once again, nature came to the rescue in the form of native Earth diseases that wiped out the conquerors, just as malaria and yellow fever once took its toll on European colonists in the tropics, convincing the invaders that this wasn't so healthy a place for empire after all. The Time Machine is an interesting projection of class society into the far future, where the bourgeoisie has evolved into a dependent, helpless, beautiful but forever juvenile race called the Eloi, and the proletariat has sunk into an utterly dehumanized subterranean race of Morlocks, who toil out of sight and mind, supporting the Eloi in their idle irresponsibility. The kicker, of course, is that the Morlocks get back their own by periodically eating the Eloi, so that there are not too many of them to support. A good turnaround on Malthusian economics, whereas the poor who are supposed to die off to reduce population and environmental pressures. In The Food of the Gods, you have the possibility of those consuming genetically modified products to extend their longevity and personal power, transforming themselves into a master race. While The Invisible Man explores not only racism taken to its nth degree, a totally pigment-free man who can lord it over all around him precisely because he has no color, but is also a metaphor for our age where, through radar, video surveillance cameras, GPS, drone planes, and even more invasive technology that can monitor our very thoughts, we are surrounded by invisible men who seek total dominion over our lives. The Island of Dr. Moreau explores the race theme more directly, where instead of a master race ruling over men turned into beasts by vicious exploitation, beasts are instead turned into men, I guess to solve the problem of rising labor costs in the industrialized world. As we know, in surveying the century and more that's elapsed since Wells' prophetic early science fiction and the trajectory of science and its use today, they remain valid criticisms yet. The Martians' invisible rays are now a fact. Invisible men surround us daily to make the world grovel at their feet, in the words of Dr. Griffin. Cloning has made Dr. Moreau a little less of a mad scientist, while genetically modified foods and drugs and cybernetics might give the ruling classes their long-cherished wish to become as much like all-powerful, indestructible, immortal gods as possible, to ensure their property and privileges forever. Uh-oh, can knock on the phone. Let me get this real quick. Hello. Dr. Joseph Mengele? You were a fan of Wells too? And Dr. Moreau was your inspiration at Auschwitz for your human experiments. Well, that just underscores Wells' whole point, doesn't it? That modern science and industry, if left in the hands of those currently misusing them, can unleash undreamed of horrors on the human race. If man's wisdom and conscience can't keep pace. Oh, you've got to run? Simon Wiesenthal is hunting you down even in hell? Well, he always said he would. Fine with me as long as you and hell stay outside living reality.